Welcome to Authentic Living with Roxanne, a place where we have conscious conversations about things that really matter in our lives. And now, here's your host, Roxanne Derhaj.
Our interview last week was so good that we decided to turn it into a two-part series. If you missed last week, you'll find the link in the show notes. It's not mandatory that you listen, but we want to make sure that you don't miss out on this amazing conversation. Hi, everyone. It's Roxanne Derhaj. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Today, I have a special colleague, Kristin Engvig, here with us. She's in Switzerland, and she's going to talk to us today about an amazing organization that she started 25 years ago. Kristin, that's a long time to be dealing with women in leadership. So thanks for coming on to have this conversation with us today. So to have an objective lens, really, and to look at yourself and say, you know, what are my strengths, what are my limitations, what are the realities of this bureaucratic potential structure that I'm wanting to enter. And to really, I in my new book, ROR, I talk a little bit about, assessing your own skills as an authentic heart leader, really. Yeah. And we all, as human beings, we love to look at our strengths, but I believe the gift is in looking at your limitations and recognizing those things and figuring out, what steps do I need? And then also, who do I need to surround myself with in order to get these skills too? And sometimes it may be a male colleague that
I know. It's also that, and there was also something else that came to mind just before, and that is that there's many women now who are extremely well educated. So young women do all over the world, at least in countries where you get access to education and so on. They do well at school, they get good grades. We have higher and higher education. So, and then we start working, many women start working, and it's still about sort of doing the excellent job to get the good grade and we have to be careful. So it's not too much about pleasing in the hope of being one day recognized for that good girl. So this is, I fell in that. There's a lot of people I know. And then years later, you're like exhausted and burned out. And so I don't know how to get the younger women to pick that up, but it's an important part of this perfectionism, this being there's something.
I think that the Gen Zs and the Gen Xers are more coming from the space of value alignment. I could say that a lot of female leaders at my time, we were on that treadmill, absolutely, right? But now when I meet younger female leaders, they'll say, when I go for a situation or an interview, I'm looking for where's that value alignment with me?
This is so cool now. And
whereas, earlier, and I'm thinking when I started my career, I was like, okay, well, I know where I want to get. So which hoops do I have to jump through to get that? And I'm just going to get it done. And now when I'm talking to younger female leaders, they're like, well, I want to see what they're doing with the environment. Or in fact, I'd like to see, how my leadership story, which I'm talking to maybe somebody in their 20s and they're talking about their leadership story, which is really refreshing to hear, because I'm looking at a lot of female leaders that are older that are now figuring out what their leadership story was, even though they've been embodying it all along. So I think it's generationally, I have experienced that, I'm sure you have too. They're coming from a place of strength that says, I bring these things, I'm a female. However, I recognize there's limitations, but it's not about me. The ones that have done a bit of, coaching and awareness, and, an awareness is such the gift that I think, now it's kind of a bit of a given, right? You just have the mentor, you do your coaching, you have that awareness, and you look at yourself holistically versus before it was kind of like, how am I going to fit into this role? And, what am I going to do to morph myself into that?
I mean, I think, and this is the great thing, and that's my recommendation for everybody younger also. Make sure there is time for reflection in your life so that you have that awareness, you build on your consciousness of the big picture of things also. And also this area of specialization, I think now it is important, this wholeness, because otherwise we almost get it's not good for our brain to do only one thing. We need to do several things so that our brain is stimulated, more intelligent and more awake. And that's important in these times, so we don't become manipulated by news, by corporate bosses or any of these things. Stay awake, stay alert. So I talk a lot about something I call the Renaissance woman. It's like the Leonardo da Vinci of the Renaissance man, but it's the modern Renaissance woman. She has many different things she can do. And
it's actually refreshing, right? To look at it from that space, right? And now you think, we're in 2022, and 10 years from now, what will be the possibilities versus just focusing on the blocks that still exist. And I think to your point, we have to look on a macro level to what are the impediments that stop us till today, and how can I become part of that solution in my purvey, like in my tenure as a leader. How is it that I can help others along the way? Because I now I have the skill and knowledge, of wisdom to be able to pass on. And for other leaders that are at the latter part of their careers, how are they giving back? So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that I know that's what you're about. I know that's what WIN is about. And I have been for everybody listening, I've been fortunate. I'm going to be speaking at the WIN conference in 2022 in Rome, so I'm excited, and I'll get to meet Kristin and her her following in Rome. But what is it that you're finding now? Like, we're talking about legacy, and I talk a lot about legacy leadership in my new book as well. What is it that you're finding now with leaders that are kind of at the latter end of the career? What is it that they're doing, or what is it that they can do to ensure that this passing on of knowledge is done in a way that helps us kind of get to where we need to get?
Yeah, and that's such an important question, and it's pivotal. It's for our future that this happens. And I think what I try to do is to mix people at the conference, to invite people of different generations to come together. And some sessions we mix people, other sessions it's segmented, because not everybody is open to it either. So we need to continue to work on the mindsets, that working with people different, that could be generational, pigmentation, gender, all the different ones. But what can the women who have experience do today? I mean, they can be a pillar of support for younger ones, listening to them, sharing with them, but also this capacity of listening. I have noticed over so many years of listening to many women that it's not only about having a voice. Yeah, it's about having a voice. But it's that somebody listens to you, that's even more powerful. And some women are even shocked just by being listened to. They're like, so that is something we can do for each other, listen to each other. And then I think also, if you are a resourceful woman, put also some money into it. Like, we have a whole scholarship program. I invite women from many different countries to come to WIN. We spend a percentage of what we get into, even a visa office, to get somebody from Himalaya or Cameroon to come into another country. So there are many things you can do to mentor women in situations of less resourceful women, to actually bring everybody up. So it's one thing you can do, and continue to work on your own awareness and your own consciousness, and heal. Because I also meet women who have been around for a while that have given so much, and they were also not heard and seen and valued. So it's about just get that off and clean up and go out there in the world and share your skills. And also here, the power of meeting now is also that we can start things any age. I met the other day a lady who just became a yoga teacher. She's 62, and somebody else does the same. She's 22. So it's like all is possible right now. And of course, there are some limitations and some differences, but if we can somehow be there for each other, if I can be inspired by someone young, I feel I can learn or be held by somebody who's a little older than me, or if I can be like inspired by a dynamic, entrepreneurial North American woman, grounded by my friend Charity in Nigeria, heart-based by somebody I know in Colombia. So it's we can get different, we can give and receive different things from different people if we live in this world of inclusion and diversity and mixing with different people.
And I often think that you never know where your next teacher comes from.
Absolutely. And another thing is that I have done a lot, WIN started up as the name, Women International Networking. But our most important thing is this leadership conference. And it's about networking, but it's about so much more than that. But at the core of it is that we've been moving from a very hierarchical way of operating in society to a more network-based, or to a combination of the two. But in a network-based way of organizing society, organizations, and our own very life, relationships are so important. And so basically that's our
focus. At the end of the day, like, the title of my book is ROR, which is Return on Relationships, right? So how is it that you invest?
Yes.
Right. And you're the leader. And I think oftentimes we think, what are the things that I'm looking for from others to perform? But with the concept that I've come up with, which is based on a lot of research that already exists with authentic leadership, but I include authentic heart leadership, is
absolutely
you are, the beacon, but you have to take care of your light first in order to be able to spread that accordingly. And it's a reciprocal back and forth, right? It's not a one way, which is very, like you said, autocratic and old school male perspective. Now we're recognizing that, in fact, it could be one of the youngest people on your team or around you that may have the solution. So to create that space, which takes a lot, but it starts with the leader.
It starts with the leader. Yeah. And and then another thing that I work on a lot and I share a lot is this is about, so we have this authentic leadership, and authenticity means also that I can be true to myself, to who I am, which is an exploration every day, we discover something. But to dare to be true to yourself means also a certain level of courage sometimes, and to take the stand, or ethics and aesthetics. I think you have to take a stand for beauty, for nature, for a lot of these things. And I think that if all women all over the world could be aware enough and strong enough to say no to what's unacceptable, immediately the world will change.
Just by that one action.
Just by that one action.
Yeah. I know when I was introduced to Kristin, she was at the UN. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that. And because I think, what a platform, and it's amazing that you were there.
Yeah.
What happened at the UN, and how did that, now that we talk about your story, which has been amazing, this legacy of women and authenticity and being true to yourself, what happened at the UN?
Yeah, I think maybe that goes into, so when you are as true to yourself as you can be and authentic, and when your relationships are not necessarily transactional, but more synchronistic. So working in a feminine way of attracting things or receiving things or being awake to whoever sits next to you, that maybe you talk to and you don't know, but maybe later that could mean something. Things start happening to you also. So I was by chance introduced to someone in India who introduced me to somebody else, and so on. So I started to work with a group called Global Citizen Forum together with WIN. Then the head of the Global Citizen Forum and me got together and said, let's do something in the UN. And then somebody else came along, and there we were in the UN. Well, it wasn't exactly like that. There was a lot of things happening from the A to Z of being in the UN, but we were there in the big venue together also with CISPOC UN organization. So we held in May timely event on inspiring women to create a more peaceful and sustainable future. And this was a collaboration where Win and myself was in charge of directing and producing the event together with these two other organizations. And what happened was that we had a chance to look and bring in also a lot of women from businesses, from companies, and that I think was also important, that it's not only NGO and political leaders that meet in UN, but we can bring along also women and some men from what they would call in the UN the private sector, to also see how they can more be a part of creating this change for a more sustainable and more peaceful future. And this was really step one. We planned to take the next step. This was in Geneva. Next step is in New York in end of 23 or maybe probably 2024 now.
Amazing. Just, when I listen to your path, you must sometimes step back, I'm sure, in applying your awareness and say, I'm sure you had this vision embodied in you of something that you wanted to feel. And I'm just thinking about, and being lucky enough to be at the 25th anniversary of Win in Rome. When you look back now, and if you could kind of, say what you feel right now about not just Win, but women.
I feel like when it comes to Win, I feel it's almost like it's been a pilgrimage. It sounds strange, but that's the word that comes to me, because it's been a long dedication and a journey that I felt was my inner journey. And it has been a collective journey, because I've related with so many women that have come along in this uprising. So where we are right now, it's both, and 25 years is often referred to as a generation. So it's as if there was it's the end of an epoch, and it's also such an incredible beginning of the new, where so many of these young women are coming up with confidence and courage. So it's like, wow, it's an amazing time on the one hand, but then also looking at the world with wars, with many, many different challenges right now, we are also so needed. And I've had for a few years now an extreme deep sense that the world depends on women's dreams being realized. And by dreams, obviously, I mean the vision. So, and if we can make our dreams or yearnings or wishes or goals, all visions happen, we will be all right. And if we don't, I don't know even, but I don't want to go there, but more, there's something now that is a critical moment, and it's critical that women have a place. And it is happening. I'm not saying it's happening on its own. It's happening because of people like yourself, myself, all the women have been working on this. But it's an important moment.
And I love that thought, right? It's like, what is it that I can do, right? Like, what is it that I can do in my, 10-meter radius around me, and to live my passion? And I think of myself, becoming a psychologist and wanting to, because I recognized that I needed a voice. Yeah. And then I also in turn wanted to ensure that anybody that I could interface with, and I decided this, I think, quite young, that I wanted to ensure that I chose a path that allowed others' lights to be reflected back. And I did that at age 11. Now I think back and I think, what 11-year-old was thinking that? But because I had had experiences where I felt like my light wasn't shining, and the environmental context, going back to your original, was not affording that light to shine, I wanted to ensure that whatever path I took in life, that in fact, I would be a vein to others to be able to have that. And that's my legacy and my leadership story, because I really wanted to have voice, but I wanted others to have voice. So it's,
yes, it's that. It's like, it's like when I was up there in the northern Russia, on my own back 26 something year ago, and I saw these women, they're so smart, but they don't have choice, and I wanted them to have choice. So it's this, and the more I traveled, the more I thought, so I want people to have choice. That became something for me, and freedom. And I wanted freedom too. I moved from a little town in Norway. I started to travel. So it's of course we do it for ourselves. Yeah, it's interesting.
So this has been amazing. What a exchange this has been. Space.
Yeah.
I hope that anybody listening will enjoy and take something away from it.
Yeah.
So is there any last words you'd like to share
Yes.
before we kind of sign off?
Yeah, I think like the last things for all the women, don't take shortcuts. Like do the right things. I think the time of the good people is here now. It's like do the right things. It's hard sometimes, and still you just walk the path. Don't deviate from your dreams, from what you want to do, or what you dream to do, and what you long to do, and do the good things. Some people say, no, it's not possible. And it is possible. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
And I would say before I sign off, I think I'm a little girl from Trinidad and Tobago. I grew up in a little village called Diamond Village. And I had a dream of wanting to do and make a difference in people's lives. And here I came from that little island to Canada. And anything is possible once you set it's not an easy road. But don't lose track of your dreams, and know that with the right synchronicity around you, to your point earlier, anything is possible. And together we're so powerful, but in isolation, it would, we take away the gift of light and possibility. To really keep that in mind as you go out there, and don't lose track of what that vision to look like for you. So I'm excited about Rome. I look forward to meeting you. For anybody that happens to be in Rome around it's the 20th to the 22nd of September this year.
Rome is calling.
Yes, come and join us and spend some time. I'll be doing a workshop on awareness and being involved in plenaries, talking about some of the things that Kristin and I have talked about today. So Kristin, thank you. And for everyone listening, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Welcome to Authentic Living with Roxanne, a place where we have conscious conversations about things that really matter in our lives. And now here's your host, Roxanne Derhage.